Donald Trump's regime and his MAGA base are imploding as Donald Trump tries to cover up his dark and disgusting past. The cover up gets worse, and it is backfiring in Donald Trump's face. We'll break it all down. Of course, Donald Trump needs distraction, so he goes back to his old tricks, and he says, Rosie O'Donnell should not be a United States citizen. Just a strange reference, making Rosie O'Donnell references, by the way, in 2025. She's living her life in like Ireland right now. Like, just leave her alone. I'm taking away her citizenship. Donald, we're not falling for those distractions. And while America is still recovering from a massive, catastrophic weather event that took place in Texas, where the death toll continues to rise, I guess the Trump regime is just like, all right, we're moving on now. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem were out, just partying at the FIFA Club World Cup at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, while they were getting booed at that stadium. And then Donald Trump went to the trophy ceremony where Chelsea Football Club won. And then Donald Trump he just wanted to be there in the center when the team was celebrating. They're like, can we have this guy move? Why is he even there? And so the White House posted their propaganda photo with Donald Trump right there in the center. And then Chelsea had to publish their own photo once Donald Trump was pushed in the back. Again, it's just so embarrassing. He just loves stealing the valor and accomplishments of others. Couldn't handle people were booing him. No one wants him there at that football or soccer match in New Jersey, or frankly anywhere. And then earlier, Donald Trump held a faith luncheon and just started cursing during it, making jokes about Vladimir Putin bombing hospitals and killing children in Ukraine. And everybody at this faith lunch thought it was absolutely hilarious. And then earlier, Donald Trump met with the Secretary General of NATO, and Donald Trump made his big announcement how tough he's going to get. So he went from imposing secondary sanctions against Russia in maybe 2 weeks, right? That's what he said in April. And today it was 50 days. I'm going to give Putin 50 days. And by the way, if you want to know why he said 50 days, because it was previously reported that during Donald Trump's prior call with Putin, Putin said he needed 60 days in order to conquer additional territory based on the summer offensive Russia is launching. So Donald Trump, thinking he's a tough guy because that's how he does deals, he goes, Putin wanted 60 days. I'm going to give you 50 days to do it. That's where the 50 days comes from. We'll talk about that and more here on the Midas Touch podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by my brothers Brett and Jordy.
Good to be here, everybody. Good to be here, Ben. Good to be here, Jordy. Good to be here, Midas Mighty. Damn, we have a lot to speak about. There's a whole lot going on. And man, the whole MAGA movement right now just seems buried under the weight of the Epstein-Trump scandal. They can't escape it. They could only deflect. Their supporters aren't even buying it. But right now, you are really seeing who the propagandists are. And I know we've all known who the Trump MAGA propagandists are, the people like Charlie Kirk and the like. But seeing them right now have to bend over and just twist themselves into pretzels to defend this whole situation that they know is bad. They know it's very bad. And they know Donald Trump is all over those files and is so implicated in everything. And that Donald Trump had such a close relationship with Epstein. And now that it's all coming out yet again, and now that from Donald Trump's own mouth, he is the one saying, think about something else, talk about something else. Please don't talk about the Epstein files. Now they are trying to play defense for him. And it's just really pathetic. How do you trust anything any of these people say? If somehow you are a MAGA person and you've been watching Charlie Kirk and somehow the algorithm has fed you this episode and you are watching this now and you're like, I'll check this out. How do you possibly trust a single word out of these people's mouths now that you know that they are just regurgitating regime propaganda? It is pathetic. We're going to expose it. We're going to break it down and discuss all the rest of the news on this episode of the Midas Touch podcast. Jordy, what's the latest?
I'm excited for today's show. The short answer, Brett, is you can't trust them. You never could trust them. But if, again, you are part of the MAGA circle, right, and you're watching this episode and you see Charlie Kirk saying what he's saying, I mean, you're the mark. I'm sorry, you are the mark. There's no way you could take anything that's coming out of the administration or these right-wing MAGA talking heads seriously whatsoever. They were already clowns. Ben, sorry, no offense to clowns, but they have further clowned themselves with all of this. I mean, just so delegitimized whatever legitimacy, not that they had any again, but whatever legitimacy they may have had, poof, gone.
Really
Benji.
expose them.
Well, let's start off with this, though. The pressure campaign for me to get a haircut was indeed successful. I read your comments, and Brett read all of your emails.
Sometimes bullying works.
The consensus was very clear that I needed the haircut. I liked my Albert Einstein phase. I was enjoying what I was doing. Apparently, the audience did it. Your suggestions worked. I was pressured.
Let me tell you, oftentimes, like when you working with people who are on camera, they tell you, like, don't send the people the bad comments. You want to make it feel good, right? I didn't get that memo, apparently, because I would send Ben every negative comment about his hair to pressure him into cutting his hair. And I think, the pressure worked, the bully campaign worked. And Ben, you look really good. You don't look like a crazy mad scientist anymore. And you look respectable,
There you have it. I'm TV ready right now. All right,
you're YouTube ready.
We're YouTube ready. Right. Let's talk. A lot of people watch YouTubes on their TV though now as well. All right. Let's start off with what the MAGA influencers are saying. The same people who were using the Epstein list and the Epstein files to weaponize against their political enemies for years and years and years, and grifting off of the Epstein list and all of the shows about Epstein that they were doing. Charlie Kirk, one of the biggest purveyors of this. Let's show you what he's been saying recently. Let's play this clip.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
One of the interesting things to see, though, was when Benny Johnson was getting Donald Trump's post from this weekend like live as he was on air, and he had to read it while he was live because you actually got his like authentic response.
Yeah, this is before the talking points came in, right? This is before you got the memo.
Before the talking points come in. So we know at the end of last week, the regime says there is no Epstein list. It never existed. There's no Epstein files, and we're just shutting this down. Good luck, everybody. That's what they said. Then over the weekend, Donald Trump says, no, they do exist, but they were created by Obama, Clinton, and Comey in order to harm Trump and the Republicans. So they exist, but it is a hoax, Donald Trump said. Like Russia, 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 he goes, the Epstein list is a hoax, which also goes to tell you that Russia, Russia, Russia was not a hoax. And you don't even have to go down a rabbit hole for Russia. Donald Trump talks about how much he loves Vladimir Putin, almost always, it's pretty much in plain view. But anyway, let's show everybody what Benny Johnson, big MAGA influencer, what he had to say when he didn't have his talking points. Let's play it.
Okay. So President Trump has acknowledged that the Epstein files exist here. President Trump has acknowledged that the files were written and that there is something there. He says that they were written, however, by his enemies and therefore will not be released. Whoa, what? That's new in this entire zeitgeist. This is something that is wildly interesting. And then he goes all in on supporting Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. No mention of Dan Bongino, where all of this, again, sort of transpired.
Well, whoa, okay. Well, that's new, right?
Donald Trump has written this post. He's a lot less impressive, I got to say, off the cuff.
You see the panic kind of really setting into as he's reading it because he's just not really sure what to say.
Dude, because this whole thing is blown up in their face. And it's what all these people are saying right now, right? Everyone's kind of saying the same thing. It's either two things. Either they lied about these files entirely, or they're engaged in a cover-up to protect Donald Trump and a band of elites who were engaged in these crimes with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It's like one of those two things, or both, I guess. And I think it is a little bit of both. But these people, like Benny Johnson, like Charlie Kirk, they were like the main purveyors of this. If you look at Charlie Kirk's tweets from not that long ago, he literally said, vote Trump to release the list. That's an exact tweet from Charlie Kirk. And now you have the same people who are the anti-government people, who are the don't tread on me folks. You have them going, I just got to trust my friends in the government on this. They told me, what they told me, and it doesn't exist, I guess. And so nothing to talk about here, I guess. So we're just going to move on now. Let's talk about Joe Biden. And you're like, give me a break. This was your biggest thing. This was your biggest thing. And now we are learning all of this and you don't care anymore? Like, seriously.
The spin that they've been doing to all of them collectively, once they did get the talking points, we have to start talking about Biden's auto pen. I'm sorry, that does not have the
So
same bite. That is absolutely nowhere close. And Charlie Kirk, we have to trust my friends in the government. That's going to really sit well with your audience, buddy. You really know who you're speaking to there. Oh my goodness.
So naturally, because this was one of the big issues from the MAGA Republican Congress members, you would expect that they want to hold hearings on this, right? And they want to get to the bottom of it. No. They're like, why are we even talking about this now? So the talking points that went out to the MAGA Republicans in Congress, like Mike Lawler, who, by the way, pretends he's not a MAGA Republican congressman, is he's like, why are we even talking about this now? Why is this even an issue? This should not be discussed. We're done. We're over it. I could play you dozens of clips like this of other Republicans, but this is an exemplar of what they're saying here. Let's play it.
And as I said, if somebody did something, if there's evidence of a crime committed, then prosecute them. In the absence of that, what are we talking about?
You say there's a lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense from whom? What do you think? Explain to me what you think the nonsense is here.
Well, frankly, the fact that you're even covering this. I mean, I don't even understand, frankly, why we're spending a lot of time on Jeffrey Epstein. The fact is he was a pedophile who was arrested. He committed suicide, and his, fixer, if you will, is being prosecuted. So at the end of the day, if there are people who were part of any crimes, then they should be prosecuted. But in the absence of that, what exactly are we looking to do? The information is there. It is well documented what he did, and beyond that, what exactly are we looking for?
Understood. Just so you know, it's being covered because the deputy director of the FBI is said to have taken off work on Friday to protest the Justice Department own handling of this, and there have been shouting matches reported inside the White House on this. So whether or not you think it's important, apparently there are people who are quite agitated about it, but I will move on. I do want to ask you, you're on the House Foreign Affairs.
It's also why you can't have rational discussions or use logic with MAGA Republicans about anything. They're not good faith actors. I mean, when you see how disastrous the response was in Texas to the flash floods, what they'll basically just say is, you can't question us about anything, or this was the greatest response ever. We did amazing. This is exactly how it's supposed to go down. Stop questioning us. Just pray and shut up. So you can't even have the rational conversation with them. Well, what are you doing? So they're the ones who pushed Epstein. By the way, it wasn't Biden who was pushing it or Obama. This was their issue. And we were always saying here, interesting that that's their issue, because Donald Trump is all over the files that have been produced already. So it just seems like it's the ultimate projection to try to insulate Donald Trump from the fact that he's like the main guy on any list or in any files. Assume about 10% of the Epstein files have been released thus far, and there's about 90% that haven't been released. I think that's roughly pretty accurate, because there have been criminal files released, there have been state files, there have been civil cases. If you were to run through ChatGPT, who's the main third party other than Ghislaine and Epstein who's in these files, who's like a prominent celebrity type? I bet you Donald Trump's name would likely be at the very top of that list. He's Doe 174. He's got a designation. he's Doe 174. So I'd like to see the files about Doe 174. He's all over the flight logs of Epstein's jet. Epstein was on Trump's jet. Epstein and Trump were as close as could be. They lived 2 blocks from each other. They partied together. In 2002, in a profile in New York Magazine, before all the allegations came out about Epstein, Trump says Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side, beautiful girls. Many of them are very, very beautiful. That's what Donald Trump said about Epstein. You had Mar-a-Lago was used as the grounds in cases to sex traffic underage girls. And this isn't me being like conspiratorial about it. Oh, Ben, you got to be careful what you say. It's documented. It's actually an undisputed fact that Donald Trump hired an underage girl, Virginia Giuffre, when she was homeless. He gave her a job. This was the MO, by the way, of Epstein, preying on girls who were struggling financially, giving them money and introducing them to a life where he would then sex traffic them. Trump hires Virginia Giuffre, underage. She works at Mar-a-Lago. In comes Ghislaine Maxwell, who trafficked for Epstein. She finds Virginia Giuffre at Mar-a-Lago, brings her to Epstein. Epstein traffics her. Undisputed fact. That's how Mar-a-Lago was used by Epstein. And it was right down the block. You would walk over and you would do that. You want to hear it in the words of Virginia Giuffre, who has since died by suicide in Australia? Here's what Giuffre had to say about it. Let's play it.
Virginia Roberts was working in the spa at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein.
The training started immediately. I mean, it was everything down to how to give a blowjob, how to be quiet, be subservient, give Jeffrey what he wants. A lot of this training came from Ghislaine herself. And being a woman, it kind of surprises you that a woman could actually let stuff like that happen, but not only let it happen, but to groom you into doing it. And then there's Jeffrey, who's telling you, I want it this way, no, go slower, and don't do that, and do this.
So then in 2007, 2008, Epstein was given what's called a non-prosecution agreement, an NPA, by the federal government. The United States attorney at the time was a guy named Alex Acosta. Alex Acosta went on to become Donald Trump's labor secretary during Donald Trump's first term in office. The non-prosecution agreement also covered co-conspirators like Ghislaine Maxwell. And currently, Ghislaine Maxwell is appealing her conviction to the United States Supreme Court, saying Alex Acosta, who was the United States attorney, federal prosecutor in the Southern District of Florida's NPA, non-prosecution agreement with Epstein, covered co-conspirators. So it was like a contract. And she should not be prosecuted because she was bound into that contract as well. And so as she's appealing that, Donald Trump's Department of Justice, their brief was due months ago to the Supreme Court because Ghislaine appealed to the Supreme Court. The Trump Justice Department appealed to the United States Supreme Court today. So what, 24 hours after Donald Trump's post where Donald Trump said that the Epstein files were actually created by Democrats, by Clinton and Obama. I think Trump knew his Justice Department had to oppose Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal to the Supreme Court, and so it wouldn't look good if they, literally said, yeah, overturn her conviction. But Donald Trump just gave Ghislaine Maxwell a golden ticket to ask for a retrial. What she's going to say, the president of the United States who oversees the DOJ and FBI says that the list and everything about Epstein is actually a Democrat hoax. It was Clinton and Obama. So how could I be a co-conspirator if they're saying Obama and Clinton did it, and now I should get a retrial based upon the president of the United States saying that? So I think Trump realized, look, my DOJ is going to have to oppose your request, Ghislaine. But Ghislaine, I know you want to get out the list now, so let me try to do you a solid by giving you a retrial opportunity. And by the way, if you think, oh, Ben, you sound like a conspiratorial person. Well, do you remember back in 2019 when Alex Acosta he resigned, but not because Trump forced him out. I think he felt once he was uncovered, I think he felt the shame and he left on his own or something. But remember, Donald Trump had his back. Trump's like, lots of people at the time thought Acosta did a good deal with Jeffrey Epstein. That's what Trump said when the allegations came out that Acosta entered into the non-prosecution deal with Epstein. Here, watch what Acosta said. This was 2019 during Trump's first administration. People forget this clip. Let's play it.
He's a great labor secretary, not a good labor secretary. He's done a fantastic job. He's a friend of everybody in the administration. And I got a call this morning early from Alex. And I think he did a very good job yesterday. Under a lot of pressure, he did a fantastic job. And he explained it. And he made a deal that people were happy with, and then 12 years later, they're not happy with it. You'll have to figure all of that out. But the fact is, He has been a fantastic Secretary of Labor. And Alex called me this morning and he wanted to see me. And I actually said, well, we have the press right out here, so perhaps you just want to say it to the press. But I just want to let you know, this was him, not me, because I'm with him. He's a tremendous talent. He's a Hispanic man. He went to Harvard, a great student. And in so many ways, I just hate what he's saying now because we're going to miss him. But
Brett, Jordy. He said people thought it was a great deal at the time. Great deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where, you say if where there's smoke, there's fire, there's a blaze. It is blazing. And there's so much evidence. And like Ben said, these are not our theories about what may or may not have happened. These are not, we think that this could have been this or that or whatever. These are the undisputed facts that we are giving. We certainly have, a lot of theories we could get into, but these are the undisputed facts. And I've already seen the change in language from a lot of people, a lot of MAGA people, people who are close to Trump's orbit, people who are Mar-a-Lago guests, people who are MAGA influencers who go to the White House. They're all saying kind of different variations right now of we need to free Ghislaine Maxwell, because actually Ghislaine Maxwell was the victim of the system, because this whole thing was a hoax by the Democrats. And we now know that's clear because Donald Trump is saying it. So why should this woman be charged with crimes that this man, Jeffrey Epstein, did on behalf of Democrats? Why she was just a victim in all this, right? I mean, I've seen it multiple times. There's literally a White House new media reporter. She calls herself one of these people who are in the briefing room. And this woman wears a shirt that says "Free Ghislaine." Literally, the shirt says "Free Ghislaine" on it. And she's been wearing this now for at least months. We've been covering it on MeidasNews.com. And she right now on her Instagram is pushing for a retrial or a pardon of Ghislaine Maxwell. She says the following: "I'll be pushing for a retrial or a pardon until it happens, especially in light of recent news." What's the recent news? Donald Trump's statements. "Everyone should wonder why one woman is serving 20 years for trafficking minors to no one." Note that language there, to no one. Why? Because Donald Trump said, case closed, no more Epstein case. We're not going to be looking into this anymore. There were no clients. And so anybody who is possibly under investigation, you're free. You're free to go. So people are taking this as, so why is Ghislaine in jail after all this? She's not the only person. There's a British socialite, Lady Victoria Hervey, who's in Trump's orbit as well. She reshared these posts saying that Epstein had no clients and that there was no trafficking. There are photos of her and Kash Patel, photos of her and Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. And she said, keep in mind, there was no trafficking, no clients, only innocent victims who were extorted for money by corrupt attorneys through a calculated scheme of blackmail. You see what the theory is right there, that Ghislaine Maxwell, she is the victim in all this, not the actual victims. This right now is kind of just what we're seeing out of the Trump administration. What did we see? What was the big story that was released a few days ago that I don't think has gotten enough attention? Prince Andrew, who's been under investigation for all of his ties to Epstein. Guess what? That got dropped when all this got dropped, right? FBI no longer looking into it. Prince Andrew's basically been under a self-imposed travel ban. I think he's only left the UK once out of fear that authorities might get him. Well, now he's free to travel around. He's free to go. FBI says no clients. You're free. You're safe. Nobody did anything wrong here. That's Trump's FBI who's letting these people off the hook. So you could talk even about hypotheticals about, is Trump on the list? Is Trump not on the list? Is there a list? What's Trump going to do in the future? But we know what Trump's done already in the past. And we know what he did 3 days ago. He dropped the case on all the clients. So I don't know how people aren't picking this up. Donald Trump has let the clients off the hook. All these MAGA people who are saying, we need to know who is on this list, the list that they've been pushing. I don't know if there's a list. I know there are a lot of files. I know there are a lot of court documents. I know there are probably a lot of names in those court. I don't even know if there's a specific list. They've been calling for the list. Pam Bondi said the list was on her desk, but they've been calling for all this stuff. And meanwhile, Donald Trump goes, all the people who may or may not be on that list, you're free. You're free to go. Enjoy life. I got your back, while throwing Ghislaine Maxwell, as Ben said, this golden ticket now to argue for a retrial in her case, to argue for a mistrial. Like this, what we're seeing right now is just corruption at the highest scale. And we're seeing Donald Trump and the Republican Party actively covering up for Jeffrey Epstein. We are seeing it play out in real time. You want to talk about the elites covering up for these powerful people who exploited young girls? That's what's happening as we speak. This isn't something we need to dig in the past for. It's happening now.
Well, this is also what we're seeing too, Brett, perfectly said, is this is almost a way for Trump to give Ghislaine a pardon without formally doing it. Look, we all know he wished her well. He wished her well, everyone. And we know from credible reporting that he also wanted to look into potentially pardoning her under his first term. So with all of this that's happening right now, I just want to look at some other facts. Epstein dies, which also isn't getting enough attention, dies in quotes there, take that for what you will, under Trump's first presidency in 2019, right? So now if you're, one of these people who really want to get to the bottom of it, we're looking at some facts here. Epstein dies under Trump's first term. Trump's second term, what does he do? He lets everyone walk free. And the MAGA Republican Party, you guys are supposed to be the party that wants to uncover the truth. And meanwhile, the only thing Trump is seemingly doing is letting Ghislaine kind of actually walk straight out of prison. What is happening right now? It should be like people should be fed up, because at the heart of it, like, we just want the truth. You know what I'm saying? If there are Democrats on that list, expose them all. Put it out there. We've said it from day one. It's not a Republican or Democrat thing. We don't give a shit about that. If there are credible names on that list who committed the horrific acts that they are being accused of, expose them all. And this is what the MAGA Republican Party was saying as well, up until their boy Donnie Trump was like, hey, you know that Epstein stuff? Let's not look at that anymore. Now, the issue for Trump is, because he's so publicly spoken about this for so long and made it such an ethos of his campaign and who he is, that he's going to release these files, more than half of his base is like, whoa, Donnie, no, you said that we'd get the list. What are you talking about? You had all those influencers come to the White House. They held up those white binders. Is that what you meant by release the list? Was have these guys hold up the white binders when they leave the White House, and that was releasing the list? No, Donnie, we want to know. And Trump can't help himself. He's a maniac. He keeps tweeting left and right. Everyone stop focusing on the Epstein files. And I saw the Google search since he tweeted that. I mean, the results between Trump and Epstein on just generic Google search, skyrocketed.
Streisand effect.
Streisand effect times 1,000.
It's called the Trump-Epstein effect.
Yeah, we should start to call it that, because that's exactly what it is. And the last thing I have to say, Benji, before I toss it back to you, Mike Lawler out of New York, he's not getting out of this segment scot-free. This is one of these guys that pegs himself as not a MAGA Republican, but the dude can't help himself and not go against Trump at any turn that he has. Like, this is, constituents want to know the real story here with Epstein. We're from New York. I know a lot of New Yorkers who want to know what the heck is going on. For Mike Lawler, who again pegs himself as, I'm just a regular Republican. No, you're not, buddy. Because if you go against the demigod that is Donald Trump, you actually don't consider yourself a Republican in 2025. And that's pathetic, man. You're a loser, Benji.
Well, Lawler took away all the people's Medicaid after saying that he would never do anything with Medicaid when it comes.
He was
so
concerned about it. Oh, we should mention too, because we need to mention the people in Donald Trump's ear, right? And so, who else is speaking about this case right now? Somebody who, honestly, if I were him, I wouldn't be speaking about this case, and that's Trump's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz. If I were the Dersh man, Mr. I left my underwear on when I got the massage at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion, Dersh, I would not be really speaking much about this. I'd lay a little low. But Dershowitz came out and he said the following. He said, quote, "Certainly, Ghislaine Maxwell should get a commutation. The sentence was way, way, way in excess of anything she was alleged to have done." And he also called her a victim and said that he was going to be asking, and he was calling on Donald Trump to issue a pardon to Ghislaine Maxwell. Looking at the people around Trump, the people closest to Trump, right? And what they are saying, people who have been in Trump's life for a very long time. And they are all kind of spouting the same thing about this topic.
Yeah. And one other data point as well, that non-prosecution agreement that was entered with the feds in 2007, 2008 said that we'll basically defer prosecution and leave it to the state to decide. You all know who the Attorney General of Florida was during most of the relevant time period. Ding, ding, ding. Attorney General Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida during the critical time period when Epstein could have been prosecuted. So in many ways, a lot of the files would be files that Pam Bondi's office are very, very much aware of. She doesn't have to go searching. There are files too. We'll talk about that, and I want to talk about it a little bit more when we come back on that. But then I want to talk about Donald Trump's trade war against the world backfiring in his face, as at the end of last week, he imposed tariffs on Canada, on Mexico, on the European Union. He's very proud of his letters that were written like a fifth grader. He says his letters are the deals. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Donald Trump's bizarre appearance at FIFA when he basically, he stole the trophy also from Chelsea, the team. They had to get like a replica trophy because he literally stole the real trophy that's now in the Oval Office. Again, he just steals people's stuff. Like he steals their valor. He steals their trophies. I'm not making it up. He literally kept the trophy. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Donald Trump's big announcement. I'm going to be tough. I don't know why people are reporting this like, oh, there was big news. Donald Trump's going to be tough on Russia. I mean, he literally just said, I'm going to basically do what Congress already authorized already that I interfered with. So I'm going to stop interfering with what Congress already authorized, but I'm going to wait another 50 days to determine if I'm going to put secondary sanctions on Russia. And also I have no clue what I'm talking about. So I'm going to call the secondary sanctions tariffs. I'm going to tariff Russia. He's no clue what he's talking about. I want to remind everybody, become a member of our YouTube channel. It's one of the ways we've been growing. We have no outside investors. So those YouTube memberships have been hugely helpful in our growth. We've got big announcements about that growth with Midas Canada. We're also looking to build out Midas Australia. We're building out other YouTube channels of some major figures who you all know about. You'll be excited about the other channels we're launching. Really, we appreciate you. Those memberships help make that possible. Also go to MeidasPlus.com. That's our Substack. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
We live in an environment our biology was never designed for. EMFs, artificial light, seed oils, microplastics, endocrine disruptors, chronic stress. These modern assaults disrupt cellular signaling, negatively impacting gut health and accelerating aging. Armra Colostrum revives cellular signaling, bolstering our health from within to defend against everyday threats. Colostrum is nature's first whole food with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at the cellular level to reactivate your body's innate capacity to regenerate and thrive. Ready to reclaim your health? We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/Midas or enter Midas to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's armra.com/Midas. Let me tell you, if there's a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after drinks with friends, it's with pre-alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. Now it's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Now, every time I've had pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Now, even after a night out, I can confidently plan on just waking up and feeling my best the next day without worrying. Look, I won't lie, I was a bit on the fence about pre-alcohol initially, but then while hanging out with some friends at our bar, I gave it a shot, and believe me, it's the real deal. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was at a wedding. I drank it before my first espresso martini, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the next morning. Now, summer's here, which means more opportunities to celebrate the warm weather. Before that backyard barbecue brew, or your glass of Pinot watching the sunset at a beach, or a cocktail by the campfire, don't forget your ZBiotics pre-alcohol. Drink one before drinking and wake up feeling great and ready to take on the next day and all that summer has to offer. Go to zbiotics.com/Midas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Midas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Midas and use the code Midas at checkout for 15% off. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors, Armra, fantastic, ZBiotics, a fan favorite. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there is an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, where to next?
You know, I've always said there needs to be a basic floor of character when it comes to somebody in the White House. It's why we focused so much on Donald Trump's connections with Epstein, but also Donald Trump's words in general. I mean, you shouldn't have someone in the White House who's on tape or in private or in any setting at all is saying that that if you're a rich person, you know, you grab women by their genitals because you're rich and they let you do it. And that's what he said when he was, you know, with Access Hollywood. I mean, it's a big deal. And then he was asked about it in a deposition where he was then found liable in a case. He was found liable by a jury of sexual assault. Separately, in a fraud case, he was criminally prosecuted and convicted on 34 felony counts of fraud. Separately, he was found liable for defamation in front of a federal jury. Separately, a judge found him liable for making fraudulent valuations. And by the way, you can see all of that conduct and behavior and low character and his criminality and his just disgustingness. It permeates his regime because it permeated his businesses. It's why he bankrupted things. It's why people hated this guy, yet he kept on getting the media attention because in that reality TV driven world that got clicks and, oh, so outrageous. Oh my God, look at that. And it shows, I think, just the overall decay of a society. And it's like, how are we okay with that? A little bit later in the show, you know, we're going to show you this faith lunch that they had. And it's not shocking that the leader of Trump's faith lunch and the Trump faith office, you know, is someone who's a grifter, right? It's someone who's been called by, you know, whether you're religious or not. I mean, this is someone who's been called a false teacher by Christians, you know, and she's out there living in mansions off the tax exempt status of her church. She speaks gibberish, which is like, I'm speaking in tongues to God. Like, and it's like, what are you doing? You're just, what the hell is that? And then she's like, we need you to buy golden eggs for $1,200. We're going to sell you golden eggs on Easter. I mean, we'll show you that video in a little bit. You know, maybe this is Trump's crew. Like, they're all just like bad people. And I'll show you. I mean, Donald Trump at a deposition in the E. Jean Carroll sexual assault case where he was found liable civilly for sexual assault. He was asked by E. Jean Carroll's lawyer what he means when he says he couldn't sexually assault someone because he doesn't find them attractive or they're not his type. And then Trump looks at the lawyer asking the question and is like, well, I wouldn't sexually assault you because you're not my type. That's what Trump said during a deposition. Here, play the clip.
When you said in that video that Ms. Leeds would not be your first choice, you were referring to her physical looks, correct?
Just the overall. I look at her, I see her, I hear what she says, whatever. You wouldn't be a choice of mine either, to be honest with you. I hope you're not insulted. I would not, under any circumstances, have any interest in you. I'm honest when I say it. I would not have any interest in.
It's a sexual assault case. And that's what he's saying. It's on tape. Like, if that doesn't repulse you, like if that, what I just showed you is not disqualifying to you, I'm not gonna, I'm just like thinking, like, could you imagine if Obama was in a deposition in a sexual assault case where he was found liable and he's on video talking to the lawyer and saying what you just heard? He would be disqualified. What are we talking? Like what are we even talking about here? You think he's on the Epstein list? He already is. I've seen his name in Epstein's black book. I've seen his name on the flight logs. I've seen him say Epstein's a great guy. You heard what he said right there. And by the way, when Trump was on tape saying that when you're rich, you get to sexually assault women and they let you do it because you're rich, he was asked about it at the deposition in the E.G. and Carroll case, and watch how he responds. Let's play it.
And you say, and again, this has become very famous in this video, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the pussy?
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
And
he says, fortunately, you heard him say fortunately. He said unfortunately too. He goes, fortunately or unfortunately. Why would that be fortunately? And then do you also see there that he has to also say a million? Like, why do for a million years, rich men have been sexually assaulting women and you get away with it because you're rich? I mean, and again, what more evidence do we need than his own words right there? And that's why I go back and I show it, because character matters. And we don't have to go down this, I wonder what the files say. He's saying it right there in front of us. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Y'all can go back and I do deeper dives in other videos. But I want to talk about a few other things. First, Donald Trump going to this FIFA match and trying to steal the valor of the Chelsea Football Club's 3-0 victory. Trump goes on stage. Our audio listeners can't see this, obviously, but our YouTube viewers can. You have the head of FIFA now trying to basically push Donald Trump to the back because the team is trying to celebrate, and Trump wants the photo op for his social media. So he wants to be with the team as they hold it up so he can say, I'm a champion. So he goes on stage. The players are looking at each other like, what the hell is he doing? Is he going to stand here? And then they post a photo, Chelsea, with Donald Trump not on the stage. And then Trump steals the original trophy. He takes it to the Oval Office so that Chelsea Football Club is left with the replica version of it. Now, New York Post and other right-wing regime media acted like Donald Trump was celebrated. Their headlines were literally Trump gets standing ovation at FIFA. Roll tape. Let's see if it's a standing ovation. Here, let's play it. Was getting booed ruthlessly. Shout out to Call to Activism for first finding that clip right there. And then
on multiple occasions, by the way, let me say, he was booed twice, because I think that was the portion where they were doing the national anthem. They showed Donald Trump on the Jumbotron. Everybody started booing, and so they quickly cut away from him. That was number one. Number two, when Donald Trump took the field at the end for the trophy ceremony, when he stepped on the field, once again, the crowd erupted in boos. I saw another clip. I wish I had it here right now, but another clip as he's walking on the field, and you see all the people in the crowd giving Trump the middle finger and booing him. They go boo, and then you see all the fingers out, and then you see all those propaganda rags like the Post and everything have the nerve to write, Donald Trump gets loud applause, thunderous applause. It just shows you how this propaganda works. And that's why, I said in the beginning, and I'll repeat it now, if these are your sources that you are trusting, if you're somebody who picks up the New York Post and thinks that you're being fed the truth, right? They're just telling it how it is. If you're somebody who watches Charlie Kirk or watches Benny Johnson, watch one of these people and think, oh, they're just telling me how it is. Guess what? They ain't. They are lying to you. They are running cover right now for Donald Trump. They're running cover for Jeffrey Epstein. They're running cover for all of these crimes. And you just can't forget that fact.
Yeah. So then, by the way, did you all see Kristi Noem there on the bottom left? Isn't there something for you to be doing, Kristi Noem, other than going to this FIFA match? But, they were partying on Mar-a-Lago when the flash floods were taking place, on July 4th, July 5th, July 6th. Trump was there, like licking his ice cream cones and playing golf. This past weekend, too, Donald Trump posted how he won another golf tournament at his club, and he was like showing a photo that he was the club champion again. It's like Kim Jong-un style stuff. This is a real post. Our audio listeners can't see it, but we have the post up from Trump's official account saying, in between meetings and phone calls, it was a great honor to win the member championship at Trump National Bedminster. Gross no strokes with Tommy Uricali as my partner. The many other competitors were not only great golfers, but also terrific people. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, goes, another championship for Trump today in one of his tournaments. The guy never loses in his own events. I mean, just so you know what normal things would happen right now, while you had these flash floods taking place, Biden wouldn't just show up for a photo op and, by the way, say that you're evil if you question the response of the federal government and state and local officials, which Donald Trump says, you are evil. You're an evil person, or the governor. That's what losers do. Losers quit. We like football in Texas. That's what losers do. And then Chip Roy, the MAGA Republican Congress member from that district. Did you hear what the governor said? Why are you such losers asking what could be done? We need to just focus on what we're doing now. You shouldn't be asking any questions at all. So that's what Kristi Noem was doing. By the way, J.D. Vance, he wasn't in FIFA, but he was praying.
And Brett, you're on mute right now, and I think we lost Benji. I want to comment really quickly on the Chelsea situation because I just want, sorry to go back to this, Brett, but I really want to talk about it for a quick second. And it's time for everybody's favorite segment. Imagine if Biden did it. Imagine if President Biden was on the stage with the winning championship team and he's being ushered off the stage by the president or whomever, like telling him, hey, come to, time to get off the stage. The team needs to celebrate. And the man doesn't leave the stage. Could you imagine the headlines that would take place?
Jake Tapper would have wrote another book.
He probably would. I could tell you exactly what would happen because do you guys remember the summer of 2024 at the G7 summit when President Biden went to walk over to a paratrooper who came, parachuting down? Well, he was clipped out of context, if you remember that. He was clipped walking away from Joe Biden or whomever else was there and going to shake the hands of the paratrooper who just came down. People, right-wing media, clipped that. They cut out the paratrooper, so it looked like President Biden was wandering away. You could Google this. You could literally Google it right now, and you'll see all these ridiculous stories that popped up on about this. And then Reuters, to their credit, they said it was kind of a lame headline, but they fact-checked it. Clip of Biden wandering off at G7 summit lacks context. Not that it was total BS and fraudulent. They just said it lacks context. Neither here nor there. But if President Biden was on stage with a national championship, with a championship winning team, and the CEO of that league was like, hey, it's time to get off the stage. The guy's got to celebrate. And he does not walk off immediately. The outrage from corporate media. This guy has dementia. He has no idea where he is. Well, I'm looking at you, Donald, and said, why aren't you getting off stage? You either lack the social cues or you're just there again, as Ben said, to do some stolen valor weird thing. And I think it's a combination of both. I think this guy has totally lost it. And he needs handlers to help him in these situations because he's that demented at this point.
Let me show you. Here's J.D. Vance. Before I think I lost here. J.D. Vance prancing around right here. You can all see it. I mean, I'm not sure if he's running to the bathroom. Like, I'm not even with all of the Secret Service around him, I'm not sure why you would ever need to be running at all. Yet that's how you run. I love how these people are like, I'm an alpha male. That's how alpha males run. I think that's how like ducks waddle. I'm not really sure that's how people, but like that's the guy who goes. But anyway, he's in Disneyland. You get the point. Before he was in San Diego, and he spends the entire while Trump and the regime are directing raids at California farms. Someone died. They're like rounding up United States citizens, disabled veterans, like as they're attacking our state in California, which if it was a country would be the fourth largest GDP in the entire world. And it is a beautiful state with lots of tourist attractions, but Trump and Vance defame it. But where do they vacation the whole summer? Vance has been in California way more than he's been in his own home in Ohio. Ohio, if that's even lives anymore. He's been spending his time in California. And Governor Newsom wrote to J.D. Vance, I hope you and your family are enjoying Disneyland while you rip apart families in California. And J.D. Vance responded to it, thanks for asking. We are having a great time, period. Literally, that's what J.D. Vance said. How ghoulish is that? And then Kristi Noem, who you saw in the video, partying it up in FEMA, she was also on the Sunday shows, and she was asked about the response by the federal government. As I said earlier in the show, it's why you can't have logical discussions with these sociopaths, because obviously it was a bad response, right? What happened in Texas was horrible. Now, we can have discussions. Was it the local government, the state government, the federal government's fault? Was it all of the above? Why was the camp Mystic even built there in the first place? It was a 4-minute walk to a mountain nearby called God Mountain. That was the name of it. If it was 4 minutes, why couldn't an alert be issued to get the kids up there? Why did the county basically steal the money from the federal government, $10 million that was supposed to be used for alarms, to give themselves bonuses instead of implemented, because they thought that money was woke money, so they didn't want to build the alarm systems? Why didn't they use the alerts on the phones to alert people that they could have done like a major alert? Why did DOJ fire all of the National Weather Service people and push them out? 6 key vacancies, including the lead meteorologist coordinator. Why did it take 72 hours for the urban search and rescue team to be activated? Because Kristi Noem had a $100,000 requirement that she personally sign off on any expenditure. So it took 72 hours for urban search and rescue to actually be activated there. Why was it that Kristi Noem cut the call center contracts so that 85% of calls were not returned right away by FEMA because they wanted to cut the contracts on July 5th? During the crisis itself, they cut the contracts. Kind of undisputed fact. There was a horrible response. This is not something that should be imitated. We should all agree, and we should figure out what the problem is. Now, who's more culpable? The camp, the local government, the feds? We can have that discussion, and I'm open to that. But Kristi Noem over the weekend says, no, this is what we want to do in every state. This was the model. This was perfect. And this is how we're going to do it all the time. Texas, what happened here, we're doing it everywhere. This is what she says. Here, play this clip.
These emergencies need to be conducted exactly how President Trump handled this one. It was that the local responders are the ones who execute the response. The state comes in and manages it, and then the federal government comes in and supports it. And as soon as Texas asked for anything, we were there.
Just very quickly, I mean, disasters often cost millions of.
She says that's the perfect response. You heard her in her own words.
They keep going back. What's going on? I can't see myself. They keep going back to that, right, Ben? They keep going back to it's the local response. It's supposed to be the local governments that are doing this. They're trying to put all the responsibility on the states for things that cost so much money and that things that the federal government is supposed to handle. What does the first letter of FEMA stand for? Federal. And she wants to absolve herself of any blame. They wanted to shut down this agency. They wanted to shut down FEMA. And they only started kind of backtracking on that idea once shit hit the fan with this storm. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're not going to comment on that. Don't ask me about that. Don't ask me about that. I think it's kind of an important thing for us to know if you still want to shut down FEMA. But they're kind of effectively shutting down FEMA as is by the way that they're not providing help to these people, by the way they've been holding back approvals, the way they've jammed up the system, the way they've let these people go. They are creating a situation, and they're right. If they're going to do this, is going to happen every time. Okay, it's going to happen every time. The next natural disaster that comes, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be death. There's going to be destruction. There are going to be people who are unable to get their basic needs met because of Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, because they'd rather play this political battle to pretend that everything's okay and that nothing's their responsibility than actually act. It is the basic thing that we want government to do. The basic thing that a government needs to do for the people is protect the people. That's like number one. Number one of a government, protect the people for the safety of the people, right? For the general welfare of the public. That is not what this government is doing. This government is actively harming people. And it's not just federal, also it's these Republicans in these states like Texas. What Ben said before was true. They literally said they did not want to take money from Biden to improve their systems because that would be woke. Biden's a communist. They don't want to take that commie money and they got it covered. They got it covered. Well, clearly not. Their people could have used this money and then they funneled it to other places, right? Same story every single time. And so I would like to say this isn't going to happen anymore. We've seen this happen. We've seen death. We've seen kids die, but I can't say that. It is going to happen again. They're going to deflect yet again. Remember at the beginning of this, Trump tried not even to speak about it for the first day. He was no comments for a little bit. And then he finally was forced to because it became a really bad issue. He's done that with every crisis of this administration. He refuses to speak when our troops die overseas. He refuses to speak when our troops die during exercises here. He refuses to speak on issues that a commander-in-chief is supposed to speak on, that a commander-in-chief is supposed to assure the American public about. And they are supposed to be in a situation where they say the buck stops with me. But with Trump and with Noem, it's always the buck stops with somebody else. And that is not leadership. That's just cowardice.
I want to make a prediction here, and I'm going to talk about it and give you the data points when we come back from our break. Donald Trump is going to fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, for cause in the next 6 months. I'll give myself, and I think it'll be sooner than that, but I'll give myself 6 months. And Donald Trump's going to say that Jerome Powell fraudulently used government funds in order to build the new Treasury building, or the new Federal Reserve building. And that's how Donald Trump's going to try to claim it was a for-cause misappropriation. It's obvious the regime is already setting it up for that. They already have people auditioning for who's going to be the next chairman. By the way, Jerome Powell's term ends in 2026 anyway, but let me give you the data points for that prediction. And I want to also show you that Donald Trump's trade war against the world is going horribly. Then let's talk about this faith lunch that went down on Monday, as well as Donald Trump's meeting with the Secretary General of NATO. A reminder, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you can become a member of this YouTube channel, you'll see the button here on YouTube where it says join. If you just look right on YouTube, you'll see it has like a join feature where you can become a member. Click that. You can gift memberships to others. You can get a membership for yourself. We have no outside investors, so it helps grow this independent media platform. I think you see our expansion each and every day. All right, let's take a quick break right now. We'll be right back to close out this episode strong with our last segment.
So you ever wake up and feel like your body just hit the snooze button on life? Yeah, same. Honestly, aging sneaks up on you in some wild ways. Whether it's a night out or a good workout, I just don't bounce back the way that I used to. One day you're full of energy, the next you're Googling how to stretch without pulling a muscle. I believe one of the best aging breakthroughs of the last decade is Qualia Senolytic, and here's why. It's designed to help your body naturally eliminate something called senescent cells, also known as zombie cells. These are the ones that just hang around after they've stopped doing their job, draining your energy and making you feel, well, old. Think joint discomfort, sluggish recovery, low energy, the whole deal. Qualia Senolytic is a groundbreaking supplement made with 9 plant-based nutrients, and you only take it 2 days a month. That's it. Since I started taking it, I felt more energized, quicker to recover from workouts, and honestly, just more like me again. Plus, Qualia's breakthrough formulation is vegan, non-GMO, and tested by leading scientists. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Midas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Midas for an additional 15%. That's QUALIA life.com/Midas, MEIDAS, for that extra 15% off. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. What does feeling safe at home really mean to you? For a long time, I thought it was enough to have solid locks and maybe an alarm that made a lot of noise if somebody broke in. But after people close to me had their homes broken into, I realized that real security means more. It's about stopping the break-in before it ever happens. That's why I trust Simply Safe to protect my home and my family. Let me tell you a little more about why I love Simply Safe. Most systems only react after something goes wrong, but Simply Safe's new Active Guard outdoor protection helps stop crime before it starts. Their AI-powered AI-powered cameras and live monitoring agents detect suspicious activity. If someone's lurking, agents speak to them in real time, turn on spotlights, and even call the police. It's proactive protection, not reactive. There are no contracts, no hidden fees. SimpliSafe was named Best Home Security System of 2025 by CNET, and over 4 million Americans already trust it. It's also ranked #1 in customer service by Newsweek and USA Today. Plans start at around $1 a day, and there's even a 60-day money-back guarantee and no contracts, no hidden fees. Visit simplysafe.com/Midas to claim 50% off a new system with a professional monitoring plan and get your first month free. That's SimpliSafe, SimpliSafe.com/Midas, MEIDAS. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out Qualia. Shout out SimpliSafe, new sponsor to the pod. Definitely check them out. We really stand behind them. For sure, great. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Real quick, Benji, before I toss it to you, I want to say this. Brett, for our video listeners right now, is editing this podcast on hard mode. So you know video games, there's easy mode, there's medium, and then like the level of difficulty. Brett's doing it on like super hard mode. The software we use just had an update, and Brett's all out of sorts right now. So I have to say, B, I'm very impressed with how you've been handling it, and you've been doing great. Most people wouldn't have noticed if I didn't say anything. So I just wanted to say great job.
What are you going to do? I feel like it's not something we had to mention, but I appreciate the kind words.
All right, let's test Brett. Rapid fire. I'm going to go clip. Yeah, I'm going to go clip, but I'm going to test your theory, Jordy, right now.
Let's do it.
Lightning round. Okay, first, I want to show Donald Trump's economic advisor, Kevin Hassett. And Kevin Hassett says that, nope, we never said 90 deals in 90 days. What we said is sketches of deals before August 1st. Sketches before August 1st. Here, let's play it.
On Canada, European Union, and Mexico. Why now? What's going on?
Well, I think that we've got a deadline that's coming up in early August. And the thing about President Trump, if you go back and look at his history, that he became one of the most successful, if not the most successful businessman in the 20th century because he was able to squeeze everything out of every deal that he made. And right now we've got that guy who wrote The Art of the Deal, making deals for the American people. And we've got to see where the dust settles. The bottom line is that he's seen some sketches of deals that have been negotiated with Howard Lutnick and the rest of the trade team. And the president thinks the deals need to be better. And to basically put a line in the sand, he sent these letters out to folks, and we'll see how it works out.
We've seen sketches of deals. Also, let's be clear, when you're involved in a negotiation and your desire is to destroy your counterpart and squeeze them out, that's not really a good way to negotiate in good faith. So when you're dealing with the European Union or Mexico or Canada or Japan or Australia, and you go into these negotiations, I'm going to squeeze everything I can, because then what Trump wants to do is post on social media, look how I made them submit. I destroyed Australia or Japan or Mexico. Ha ha ha. These are proud countries that value their sovereignty, that have trading relationships elsewhere also, and they don't want to be treated, this way. I mean, Donald Trump sent that letter to the European Union and to Mexico over the weekend. He waited until the markets closed. It was backed. I mean, the letters are dated on Friday, but he posts them on social media on Saturday, these 30% tariffs against Mexico and the European Union, and he did it before when it comes to Canada. All that's doing is having these other countries forge stronger relationships with each other and with China. It's helping the BRICS bloc rise, and it's just weakening the United States. As I said before the break, I want to show you why I'm pretty confident that they are teeing up a for-cause firing of Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. Kevin Hassett was asked about firing Jerome Powell over the weekend. Here's what Hassett said. Let's play it.
Yes or no answer. Does the president, in your view, have the authority to fire the Fed chair?
That's a thing that's being looked into, but certainly if there's cause, he does.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin Hassett. Really appreciate it. Up next, did President
The Supreme Court in a prior ruling actually allowed Donald Trump to fire independent agency heads without cause, overturning decades and decades of Supreme Court precedent. But they just made up a rule in their order saying you can't with the Federal Reserve chairman. It has to be for cause. So right now, Kevin Hassett, who you saw there, and others in the Trump regime have been sending letters to the chairman of the Federal Reserve saying, you know, we know that you're building this Federal Reserve building. We think money's been misappropriated. Answer these questions. So they're just teeing up a for-cause termination. Hassett, that guy who you just saw there, who's wrong about everything his career, he predicted the dot-com boom would go even boomier right before the bust. He said, bye, bye, bye. The next day, there was basically a crash. He's an infamous loser, that guy. He's basically the next person in line to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve and just do whatever Donald Trump wants. The other guy is this guy, Kevin Warsh, who was auditioning this weekend. And here's what Warsh said. Here, play this clip.
The president has been considering you as the successor to Jay Powell. He said some very nice things about you to me recently when I was talking with him. Powell's term is up in May, but there's also an opening in the Federal Reserve in January. Would you be poised to accept the position on the board in January?
I had that job. I was a governor for 6 years during the financial crisis. It's a great job to have. It's up to the president to make whatever decisions he wants. But I think what we need is regime change at the Fed. And that's not just about the chairman. It's about a whole range of people. It's about changing their mindset and their models. And frankly, it's about breaking some heads because the way they've been doing business is not working. Maybe in New York, maybe in Washington, people think.
You see, it actually is working, and it's the one thing that's keeping our economy alive right now. If Donald Trump were to precipitously drop interest rates as he wants to now by 3 points, it would lead to a massive recession and potentially a Great Depression. It's one of the reasons why the Federal Reserve is independent to avoid this. We may not like where interest rates are right now. They were declining before inflation went back up. They were declining under Biden. Donald Trump then had the trade war against the world. It is causing inflation to rise. Trump and everybody around him claim that they defeated inflation. They said it no longer exists right now, and that gas is $1.98, and that everything is great, and that everything is so much cheaper right now, which is false, Brett.
Facts no longer exist, and they're playing off a slate of alternative facts to make their decisions. They lie about everything. And you could see this. I wanted to bring up this because Ben told you about their plan right now to try to fire Powell for cause, right? That's what they're pushing. They're writing these letters. They're having Congress do their whole, oh, we're going to investigate this. You know, it's the same playbook they always run, right? To try to smear somebody, to try to pressure them to step down or have Donald Trump fire them for cause and say, listen, he was stealing money, right? They make things up. The other leg of this is what I'm seeing online by this guy, Bill Pulte. For those of you guys who don't know, Pulte is the U.S. Director of Federal Housing. He's a billionaire worth nearly $4 billion. And so he starts spreading a rumor about Jerome Powell. And I don't think this has gotten enough attention. Pulte starts spreading a rumor that Jerome Powell is considering resigning based on nothing other than the fact that the Trump administration wants him to resign. And so they're trying to get this rumor mill going. So he leaks this to the press. A guy who wants Powell out leaks to the press that Powell is considering resigning. So inevitably, that allows the propaganda media ecosystem to go full speed into this. And then Pulte then regurgitates what the media is saying about his comments, and it all comes full circle over, and it just goes over and over again. So you can see I'm pulling up his profile here, and then he writes things like this. If news reports that Powell is considering resigning are accurate, the economy would boom like never before. It's just math. The news reports are based on your words. You are the news reports. You are the one spreading this rumor. And there's another post he did right here. Federal mortgage regulator Bill Pulte calls on Congress to investigate Fed Chair Powell. That was like what Ben was saying before. So he's pushing the investigation, and he's pushing this lie that Powell is considering resigning. Then you see I have a screenshot of Fox here. Fox talking about him saying that Powell is considering resigning, and Pulte goes, how soon will Powell resign? And then he shows Trump responding to the rumors that Powell is considering resigning. And he shows Trump responding to it right there. Then let's see where, then he says, I also personally was in a meeting with Jerome Powell last month and he looked completely drained of life. He also writes, Pulte, the patriotic thing for Jerome Powell to do is resign. So you have these people who have these things that they want to do. In this case, they want to get rid of Jerome Powell so they could get rid of the independence of the Fed, destroy the economy for short-term low interest rates to try to help Trump and help billionaires get money for free, essentially. And they're willing to smear the head of the Federal Reserve and try to basically threaten him with criminal charges in order to get him to either step down or get Donald Trump to fire him and say, I was just doing what's best for America. This is what's playing out right now. And so I feel like people aren't really speaking about this specific end of this story. So I wanted to make sure I would just laid out all the ends of what is happening.
Yeah, they want a for-cause pretextual justification to fire Powell. To me, that order has already been made. Right. So now what they're just waiting for, and this is what Powell has to figure out. And by the way, Trump appointed Powell. So Powell is Trump's pick. So I just want to be very clear during first Trump administration. And so what Powell has to figure out now is, how do I respond to this letter? Because it's obviously intended to get me fired. And what's the right response? I mean, the truth, of course, but that's what this is, and I expect this to happen in the next, as I mentioned, 6 months, but I think probably sooner, and I think it's going to result in a massive tanking of the market like we've never seen before. So come back to this when that happens. Going to Donald Trump's faith lunch that he was doing, and again, I don't think it's a surprise that he's doing a faith lunch the day after as he's covering for the Epstein list, because this is what these people do. Right? They cover themselves in the flag and they cover themselves in religion. And they use it. And these are not religious people, in my opinion, not patriotic people, in my opinion, who use the symbols that people love and play on people's religions to ingratiate themselves, to engage in their bad behavior. So just so you see who's the head of Donald Trump's faith office, her name is Paula White. She goes around speaking gibberish and asking for money and has a tax-exempt status. And by the way, now under Trump's IRS, churches can endorse political candidates and still keep their IRS tax exempt status. Other nonprofits aren't allowed to, but churches get to keep tax exemptions. And then, someone like Paula White has built mansions for herself and lives a lavish lifestyle. But if you go to a Paula White sermon, she just goes, hush, amana, hush, amana, mush, hush, hush, mushi, mushi, mama. Here, watch.
For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa tata rite eke banda ata rike didi.
Yeah, that's not even speaking in tongues. She's just gibberish. It's just gibberish. There's nothing there.
Wait, hold on a sec. What was the guy just walking behind her, like bored, like on his phone, like he's in the wrong place? Can we play this one more time?
Yeah,
watch it. I feel like it's. Have you ever seen that clip from back in the day, internet,
yes.
E-Bombs World, when you know exactly what I'm talking about, Jordy, right?
The gorilla.
When it's yeah, when it's like yeah.
I'll tell you what he's doing, but play the clip.
But they play the clip. No, let me talk about E-Bombs World for a second.
Yeah, Ben, relax.
Just chill, Ben. Just chill, bro. You got your haircut. You think you could just cut me off? Get out.
Big guy over here.
Yeah, big guy over here. So it's this E-Bombs World clip. You play the clip, and then it says, "Did you notice the gorilla playing basketball?" And then they play it again, and then you notice the gorilla playing basketball walking behind the people in the footage. I feel like that looks like kind of what's going on here. I'll play it one more time.
For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa tata rite eke banda ata rike didi.
Come on. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
Ben has an explanation.
No, before we toss it to Ben, because I know he likes us talking about the E-Bombs World clip so much, I just need to clarify, Brett, because I know there's a listener out there that knows exactly the clip you're talking about and is yelling at their phone right now or screen. You're supposed to count the passes in the video, and as the people are passing the basketball, that's when the gorilla walks through. The gorilla's not playing basketball. So sorry, just need to clarify.
It's count the passes.
Ben, what do you think?
I think he's holding up like some scripture, and what he's doing is like he's walking around to make it look like he's holding the word of God, and he's like feeling this trance. I think that's what that's what they're trying to have to place. I think we have another clip of her, just so you see, like, this is a separate sermon. Like, this is what she does. Here, play this clip.
Mahanda akasata, reke yamanda raboko sokota, ronda yakande eke seke la mama manda rabatase, meta rabakande la babakaso, yala mananya no sakayato yakande, ya makato yabatadia city akano.
Actually, she's speaking Old Valerian from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you know that. That's actually what. I mean, but then you know how like Trump sells his Bibles. Like during Easter, she sells $1,000 supernatural eggs. Here, let's show this here. Play.
And I believe that when you honor God on Passover, starting on April 12th at sundown through Good Friday on the 18th and concluding on Easter Sunday, you can receive these 7 supernatural blessings for you and your house. According to Exodus 23, God will assign an angel to you. He'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll give you prosperity. He'll take sickness away from you. He will give you long life. He'll bring increase in inheritance, and he'll give a special year of blessing. You're not doing this to get something, but you're doing it in honor to God, realizing what you can receive.
For your special Passover offering of $1,000 or more as the Holy Spirit leads, you will also receive the beautiful 10-inch Waterford Crystal Cross. Don't miss your moment to release 7 supernatural blessings and provision into your life.
Yeah, come on, this is right out of the Righteous Gemstones. That is ridiculous.
That's why, though, she's Trump's head of faith. I mean, Trump sells that's what's going on here. And then Donald Trump at this faith lunch is joking. They laugh at this. Like the audience, the faith lunch, they laugh at this about Putin bombing nursing homes and Trump finding out from Melania that Putin just bombed a nursing home after Putin had a good conversation with Donald. And they people find this funny there. Here, play this clip.
But we thought we had a deal. Numerous times I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange because they just bombed a nursing home. I said, what? So,
I'm not trying to make another reference, Brett, because I have no clue what I'm even referencing here. But like where they do the laugh track at the most inappropriate like point, where like it's like what there's a what is that a laugh track? You know, it's like no, that's actually the people. There was nothing funny about that story. The story was Vladimir Putin manipulating Donald Trump into believing that there could be a peace deal. And then shortly thereafter, Putin bombs nursing homes, killing innocent Ukrainians. And the audience laughed at that like that was a funny situation. I mean, you heard that there. So then also at this faith lunch, Donald Trump kept on cursing and saying, I was indicted 5 times. Bullshit this, bullshit that. Here, play this clip.
I did, I think. I got indicted 5 times, impeached 2 times. All bullshit, right? All terrible stuff.
And they're like laughing at him. What the hell is going on? Okay. So then before that, Donald Trump met with Secretary General Rutte, who's the NATO Secretary General. And this was like Trump's big announcement earlier in the day with the Secretary General of NATO right there. Surely Trump was going to say, I'm imposing secondary sanctions, or we're going to give Ukraine new weapons, not like what we were already giving them that Donald Trump stopped and interfered with. But Donald Trump's big announcement was that I'm very unhappy. They make me unhappy. So in 50 days, I'm going to impose, I think he says tariffs, but he means secondary sanctions. And mind you, we already don't do trade with Russia. There's already a ban that Trump is allowing Russia to evade because Trump has removed the sanctions on all of the key Russian banks. Okay, so that's already happened. So now Trump is saying, I'm going to impose secondary sanctions, but we've got to wait 50 days. Now, as I said at the outset, why 50 days? Because it's already been reported, and Putin said this in other speeches. that it will take Putin 60 days, Putin has said, in order to take over more areas of Ukraine based on the summer offensive. So Putin's put the marker out for 60 days. So if you want to know why was it 50 days versus 2 weeks, it's because Putin said he needed 60 days. So this is how Trump negotiates, right? Okay, you said 60 days. I'll do it in 50, Vladimir. Watch this. Here, play it.
Together. And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war. It was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
You promised there would be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. Now you're saying you need 50 more days. By the way, that's when Putin's summer offensive would end. You start getting into winter time in Ukraine, although winter's a little further thereafter. But that's usually when there's a lull in the fighting. So give Putin cover for the next 50 days? You promised peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. You promised peace in Gaza in 24 hours. You promised all of these things that are now just utter lies. And the fact that even some corporate news acted like this announcement was something like groundbreaking. Oh my God, he did what did he do? I mean, what was that? I'm very upset. I'm very upset. You're very upset. What a weird thing. What a weird thing to say. Anyway, that's where I'll leave it right there. Brett and Jordy. Brett, I'll give you the final word too.
Yeah, I'll just say, it's so frustrating to me when people buy Donald Trump's bullshit because he quite literally lies about everything. I mean, I literally got a push alert notification on my phone the other day from CNN that there was a ceasefire happening between Israel and Hamas. Ceasefire, imminent, ceasefire, Trump, ceasefire. This is what they were pushing, right? And guess what? No ceasefire. We've seen some of the biggest violence that we have seen in Gaza of the entire last few years. We've seen, over the weekend, we've seen kids get killed. We at water distribution plants. We've seen multiple people killed in airstrikes. And then Israel says, oh, we actually we bombed it by mistake. Sorry. Oops. What are we going to do? Oopsies. But I was told 2 weeks ago from the legacy media that there was a ceasefire and it was about to be done. Do not believe Donald Trump's bullshit. Only you remember trust and verify. You need to verify before you trust anything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth because he quite literally lies about everything. And you could see, as we showed you in this episode, everybody around him lies about anything. And he's built up these propaganda networks. And they existed during his first term, but now it's different. It's a lot different right now because he's built up these propaganda networks and these people who do not say no to him. So he wants to put somebody in the Fed who doesn't actually believe in the economic data, right? So he wants to put somebody in there who's going to do things not based on reality, but based on vibes. The data that's coming out of the government right now, I don't think we could trust. I don't think we could trust any of the data that's coming out of the US government. You have Fox regurgitating his lies, New York Post saying that he got loud applause when he got loudly booed. We're living in the upside down right now. So we all need to be the vanguards of truth. And I think that's what we are here at the Midas Touch Network. That's what we strive for. That's what we try to be. Doesn't mean we get it right 100% of the time, but we strive for that I know all of you out there strive for that too. So thank you for calling out the BS. Thank you for staying strong. And thank you for pushing back against this regime.
Amazing. And before I send it off, please download the Midas Touch podcast on audio, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Download that audio, leave a 5-star review. Y'all the best. Thank you so much. Shout out to the Midas Mighty. Can't get enough Midas? Check out the Midas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.